But can he win the race? I completely understand he could go off 12s, but realistically, even if he goes off 12s, can he win it?
I think there's every chance he can finish in the frame of an RSA, definitely.
Hello and welcome along to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel in association with Racing TV. You'll be very, very thankful to know we're talking about racing and we're talking about Ante Post selections. We've got another one for you. Both fancied something this week. We wanted to get that to you, as well as looking over some interesting action over the past few weeks, or the past week, really. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm very good, Josh. Yeah, no, it's absolutely superb to be back talking about racing. That being said, I think last week's video went down maybe slightly better than we thought.
It did. Any particular comments that you were very happy with?
No, it's just the way people were able to, I suppose, communicate what they thought about the channel. They were interested in what we have planned, and I think that the amount of support we've gotten has been really quite surreal, to be honest. And it was nice to have something a little bit different, and I suppose outlining those important words of how are you sometimes.
Absolutely, and a few opportunities coming from it as well, which we didn't expect. Mentioning preview nights, we've been offered a couple more, which we will get to you as soon as we know, really. But in the meantime, we're going to kick on. We cannot wait. We're in 2024. The Cheltenham Festival is less than is that 2 months away?
Yeah, just 2 months on the job, I think.
So we need to really get our heads stuck into the action, kick forward, and I'm really looking forward to doing so. Right, we're going to talk about Naas, a rearranged fixture due to fog. It was ran on Friday. Quilixios was very impressive.
He was very good. He jumped very well from the front. He ended up getting to the front after the first and never saw another rival. Mr. Policeman, I suppose, was probably the big talking point. He was the talking horse going into the race.
Is he just not a 2 miler, or is he just bang average?
I'm not so sure. I wouldn't be putting him off. It's just one of those ones. He's been such a hype horse. Like, this is kind of quite standard on Twitter these days. Such a hype horse that then he runs like he ran there, where he just jumped a little bit slowly, sticks on, and comes third. And suddenly everyone tells me he's terrible. And you're there going, well, if he went up to 2.5 miles, would he not be quite good? He's
going to win the Punchestown handicap for all those nice Mullins horses wins, the Kilcrut, Sister and Phalange.
The novice handicap off a big enough weight. Yeah, no, I could see that. Yeah. And send him on and stuff like that. I don't think he's that bad, but he's clearly not going to win an Arkle or anything like that. Quilixios is good, but he's a very hard horse to place. I think in top range company, he's going to be short of speed at 2 miles. He's never quite convinced over further than 2 miles. So I think he's maybe a hard horse. He might be a horse that will stay in Ireland and maybe go to Fairyhouse for the Grade 1 2 mile 4.
Very quickly, if you do enjoy this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, do get your comments down below. Reading Tommy Wrong won a muddling Orders of Naas. I was going into it really excited. He had Il Atlantique, he had Firefox, who I thought would absolutely dot up, to be honest. And neither of them won. There were more questions after the race than answers. How did you read it?
Deflating, I found the race, really.
How good is the winner, and has he got a chance in any race at Cheltenham?
I think he's got a chance in the Bartlett. Yeah, I wouldn't be a massive fan of him for the Ballymore. I know this race, in truth, has been a very good Ballymore trial in years gone by, but I don't think he's quite the same type of horse that usually wins this race. And we've seen even in latter years with the likes of a Ginto, perhaps, who was a bit more of your workman-like Lola as an ace winner, ends up going out and trip. I felt that with him. He was behind the bridle a lot of the way. His jumping was scruffy early on, and it kind of warmed into it. Like Firefox, I'm hard to know what to make of it. Gordon's, over the last 2 weeks, maybe haven't quite been running to form.
No. And they made excuses for him.
Yeah, they did make excuses for him, but I'm even looking at Croke Park for myself. Like, I understand he's not got the pace for 2 mile 4, but he ran a deplorable race. I don't believe that's his true running either. So maybe Firefox does have reasons to be excused, but at the same time, yeah, it was just deflating. I was so excited and so hoping that he would win.
Well, he jumped unbelievably. He travelled unbelievably, but then just
Just went out.
Completely legless.
Yeah, no. And a lot of people are saying, well, just drop him back to 2 miles. I think there was just a little bit more to it than that.
Il Atlantique?
I'm struggling to get my head around him. He's a very good horse. It is hard to get away from the fact that since he's come to Ireland, he's come off the bridle 3 times in his career, and every time he's come off the bridle, he's been beaten in a battle. Now, you can make cases, Stellar Story, Firefox, Readin Tommy Wrong, they're 3 good horses, they're 3 maybe grade 1 horses, so it's not anything to be ashamed of, but do I look at him and go, the Cheltenham Hill is made for him? No, I don't.
I don't think the Cheltenham Hill's made for him either, not right now. Hopefully fences can bring that out next season, but I completely agree.
I still think he could be a horse that ends up actually as a 2 mile chaser for some reason, like an attacking front running jumper.
Is he a Supreme horse? As in, like, has he got a better chance in a Supreme going forward and hard than he would do in a Ballymore?
Maybe. I just think he's probably in a bit of a rock and a hard place. I think if there was a race over 2 mile 2 or 2 mile 3 at Cheltenham, that would be right up his street.
I think he'll run in the Supreme.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
A lot rests on Ballyburn.
Yeah,
really.
I agree.
You know, a lot rests on what he does. Like, if he wins the Grade 1 at the DRF, but kind of slightly, not scrapes in, but it's slightly hard work, they'll just go, well, he's got all the class in the world, but he'll run in the Ballymore. If he goes and wins that race very impressively, it becomes a harder job to not go to the Supreme. But all questions, and the thing with the novice hurdles this year is I'm struggling to come up with answers.
I agree. Tullyhill was another winning man as novice. He disappointed on his first start. He did win on his second. How do you rate him?
He's clearly got a good engine. His jumping is terrible. My lord. Like, I know his jumping was deplorable first time out. It was better at Naas, but it was better off a low bar. And I couldn't have him for anything at the moment.
We finally got to see Romeo Coolio after a long time, and he did win a bumper.
Well done.
He drifted heavily before the off.
He did?
And he travelled very exuberantly, but he didn't hit the line as strong as I'd have liked him to. I don't really know what to make of it. I think off face value I was probably a little bit disappointed.
I think you're entitled to be a little bit disappointed based off the hype, but that didn't seem to stop how excited they still were.
I agree, and Gordon was really excited after, and Gordon's was running, like you said, they were all running really poorly.
Well, you just look, there were so many poor runs, whether it be the Lawlers and Naas, whether it be Imagine, the Firm Footings ran a terrible race. You look at his long weekend, and he ended up having this guy winning, and he had a horse that absolutely fell in a maiden hurdle on Monday at Punchestown. So I think you can upgrade it. The only thing I would say with Romeo Coolio is, what price is he now? Like, he's
8 to 1.
8 to 1.
Jalan Du Bereis 6 to 1.
Well, you at this moment in time, you would back Jalan Du Bereis on those prices, 100%. I just feel there is a part of me that thinks that he'll go cold like a day or two before the race and actually drift out to a price that I might back him at. In a little bit, what I can slightly see in my eyes, I could be completely barmy here, but it could be a bit of a appreciated Fernie Hollow job where Jalan Du Bereis will become the appreciated. Surely he's just a solid horse, he's the favourite, Harry Swan might ride him, sort of thing. But then Jack Kennedy's on this guy, or something like that, and he's suddenly 10 to 1 on the day, and you go, well, actually, off a stronger pace, slightly better ground, maybe a bigger field will help.
The one thing there's a few things I don't like. The one thing is he obviously had his setback this season, and it was longer than they expected. He then wasn't seen until the new year. How many bumper winners have come out in the new year? Very, very few in recent times. And he's going to go there with one run. Now, the last 10 winners have all had more than one run. And to me, he still looked a bit of a learning on the job horse as well. He was quite green, very exuberant. He looked like he benefited from a stronger pace, but I just think it's a lot to ask. If I owned him, I wouldn't be going to the bumper. I genuinely wouldn't. I think I'd be finding a winner's bumper or going to Punchestown.
Do you think
I think
with no discredit to them, do you think if he was owned perhaps by Gigginstown or Robco or something like that, that decision may be made, and just because KTDA Racing, who have had some very nice horses, but this is a real hype horse that's cost a lot of money, and they really want a Cheltenham horse?
that, and he clearly works better than Jalan Dudari, yes. I would say. I think, well, that was very much the opinion going into the season and stuff. And I think, like, for instance, last year, I remember mentioning King of Kingsfield quite a few times. He clearly worked unbelievably well, and he was their bumper hope. And he was disappointing in bumpers, but then again, he's not been a bad horse this season. He's beaten Mirror's West, finished second in a Grade 1. And
But it only has to tell you, like, Jack Kennedy got interviewed after he won his maiden hurdle and said, this horse has really disappointed us. And you're there going, he's second in the Royal Bond. 50 trainers in Ireland would bite their right arm off. Exactly. In the Royal Bond.
But I fear that could be something similar with Romeo Coolio, where clearly he's a tremendously good workhorse, but for whatever reason, maybe it's the fact that he's going to a champion bumper and he's going to be running against 22 rivals in a hustle-bustle race at Cheltenham on his second start. I don't like it. No, I would. If there was a way he could have a run between now and then, I would really find out more about him. It'd be great. But he's won a bumper, great.
Yeah,
he's clearly thought a world of. I don't doubt he works better than Jalan Dudari at home, but that doesn't mean necessarily he's going to win the champion bumper. Yeah. But then again, the bumper is. I've seen 3 or 4 I thought were really good. As in, not by really good, I mean good enough to run in a champion bumper.
It's been an odd year because there's not been that many Willie Mullins horses that have come out. Like that mare that won the other day, Maureen, and they're saying she won't even run in the race. Like, she's been near on as impressive as he's had.
I agree.
Like, usually you go through seasons where every week you go, oh geez, he'll run on the bumper, he'll run on the bumper, he'll run on the bumper, and he hasn't really had those horses. Jalan Dudari, certainly from an Irish perspective, has been the standard bearer. It'll be interesting to see who runs in that Grade 2 bumper, because I'm not seeing that many likely runners.
No, I agree. I think it's going to be very interesting. But that's our verdict on Romeo Coolio. All right, over to Kempton, and we saw a very good juvenile in Kalif Du Bereis. He's just a big, typical 3-mile Paul Nicholls chaser running in
the juvenile
hurdles.
Yeah, he was really impressive. Yeah, he jumps well.
Won't go to the Triumph. Won't go to Cheltenham.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. He reminds me, I think he'll do potentially what Monmoral did, and maybe run in the Grade 1 at Aintree, and I'd say take a lot of beating in that. Yeah. Interesting that obviously they decided with Monmoral a couple of years ago to give him that 1 year extra hurdling, because they didn't really see the benefit of going chasing. And I still feel that season near on completely soured him, because he got absolutely stuffed in a couple of open Grade 1s, which were tough to run in. As for Nicholls was alluding to, that there's potentially a chance this lad will go straight over fences next year.
Yeah, I would say they'd be mad to keep him over hurdles. Banbridge beat Pic D'Orhy in a good renewal of the Silvagnac Conti Chase. 5-1 for the Ryanair. Thoughts?
I'd want double that, personally.
Why?
I think he's a good horse, but I think from a Ryanair perspective, you've got to bear in mind he's very ground versatile. It's obviously taken him. It comes across from the interviews like he's been ready all season, but they've now had to wait to the middle of January to finally get a run into him. He's clearly a horse of plenty of ability. His jumping is strange. It was interesting. I was doing some of the race IQ stuff for Road to Cheltenham with Ruby and Lydia today, and he actually gained 7 lengths at his fences, which I couldn't really believe having watched it live, because I thought he was rubbing a fair few of them, but he is quite quick. I just have a doubt. I don't know why it is. This horse just hasn't warmed to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure I think in a Ryanair you almost need to stay 2.6, 2.7, because they tend to go get racing quite early in it.
Yeah, my problem is since... Like, the last time I can really remember is maybe Vautour or Underso, where the Ryanair was run on good to soft, decent ground. Like, usually the Wednesday and Thursday over the last few years have been absolutely diabolical. And if that's the case, he's a non-runner, or if they do decide to roll the dice, he's brutal on soft ground.
Yeah, I agree. He's interesting. Grey Dawning was very impressive at Warwick. Broadway Boy and Apple Away just went too quickly, didn't they? I
think they did, yeah. They set it up for him. That's what we were hoping for. That's what ended up transpiring. He's a really good horse, I think. He's a real proper horse. I don't know whether he's maybe a Cheltenham horse this year. I think he'll take an awful lot of beating in the Aintree Grade 1 over 3 miles. I think he's a strong stayer. At the moment, I think flat left-handed tracks are right up his street. And I think he'll be a proper horse. He's the type of horse that'll be running in a Betfair chase come November, I think.
I agree. Spillane's Tower at Punchestown?
Yeah, funny race. Blood Destiny a bit disappointing. This horse is a very good horse, but he's a slow burner. Wouldn't be surprised if he misses Cheltenham, perhaps looking at one of those big handicaps in Ireland at the end of the season.
Now, the one horse that I was very impressed with over this weekend was Mystical Power in the Moscow Flyer. A traditional route for a good Willie Mullins novice hurdler before they go to Cheltenham. We had Imperi Pass, we've had Duvan, Vautour. All of those really, really good horses have done this. And Mystical Power was interesting. There was only 4 in it. It didn't look the strongest race in the world. Jigoro was second. And Mystical Power turning him for home was off the bridle. But Mark Walsh seemed quite confident they would pick them up. And he did. And he went away. And there was no finer furlong in the race for Mystical Power than the last one. Does that mean he's a very good horse and therefore should run in Supreme and he should be Supreme favourite of 4-1? Does it mean he should go up in trip and maybe travel slightly better? Would he stay 2-5? Annie Power obviously stayed. Or does it mean he's neither and he's just beaten shite?
I don't think the form of the race was brilliant. I wouldn't be holding that to the grave. I don't think it's an outpaced thing at all. I think it's just a pure greenness thing at the moment. I think he was the same at Galway. He was green. His jumping does need improving. But I think for a lot of people that watch Mark Walsh day in, day out, especially when he rides one of JP's when the money's down, he does tend to do what he did on Mystical Power, where he's kind of looking like he's pushing along, but he's actually not really doing anything. He's just kind of cajoling them into the bridle. The way he picked up was very impressive. At the time, I was a little bit 50-50 what I think. Was it brilliant? Was it not? The more days that I've let it to fester, I'm there going, geez, I wouldn't want to be taking him on. Certainly wouldn't want to be laying him for the Supreme. And I think he's well worth, in terms of, we've seen him do it time in, time out, as you said, with the Moscow Flyer. He was the elected one to go. He's won it impressively. And at the moment, looking at that Supreme market, he has achieved the most by doing that. And he's rightly favoured.
I completely agree. I was only trying to see where you were at. He is... For me, right now, if I was going to back any horse in Supreme, it would be him. I know he's favourite, but he's done what he had to do, and he was very impressive. And I agree. I think he was green. I think he'll only improve, and I think he's proper. Yeah,
I just think the people that are going to probably take him on are of the, is he going to be like streetwise enough? I just fear if you went down that route that this horse actually has so much more improvement to come that we haven't seen yet, and that's frightening.
I agree. I think he's definitely very good. Right, now it's time to talk Ante Post. We've had 3 bets each so far. My first one was Sladesteel at 25-1 for the Ballymore. He is now in around 16-1. I actually think after the Laws of Naas, that isn't the worst price in the world, and I think he remains interesting. He's the one. He hasn't been beaten so far this season, and he's 1 over 2.5. Lecky Watson ran a good race and kind of boosted that form a little bit in the Laws of Naas. And I don't think he's a million miles off them, I'll be completely honest. I think he's a live one at 25-1. He's now 16s. Absolute Notions, I put up at 20-1 for the Potemps. A little bit of a drift this week, and understandably, because he hasn't qualified for the race yet, and obviously the closer they get to that day, the less likely he is going to qualify. However, Gordon was mark hunting this week, mark fishing, I think that's what Jake Price said on Twitter, and entered him at Ascot, and they gave him, the British handicapper gave him 143. Delighted, absolutely delighted. I think, to be honest, connections were probably slightly cooling to the idea of going to the Potemps because it was tricky, and the only race he could really run in was Exeter on the 11th of Feb because it was the Open Potemps qualifier, and Musselburgh. So I think there are 4, or that there are 6 left. Chepstow would come too soon, and the one before Chepstow would come too soon. They're all like in the 20th plus of February. So there was 4 options. I think there's one at the next one is at Musselburgh. There's one at Exeter. There's one at Huntingdon, and there's one at Sandown. I don't think Sandown was ever an option. And Huntingdon and Musselburgh were 0 to 145s. So they thought he was going to get a mark above 145 and wouldn't be able to run in them anyway. So the only real option was Exeter. Now it's opened up Musselburgh and Huntingdon. So I think he'll actually go to, I would make a guess he'd go to Musselburgh because Gordon sends more horses there than Huntingdon. And yeah, I think he's interesting. He will go down that route now, and they're going to try their best to get him qualified. And once he is qualified, we've got a lively runner at 20-1, and I think he'll be fancied for it as well, because I think 143 underestimates his ability.
Do you reckon the BHA handicapper watches LTR and has had a punt on? Like, where's he got 143 from? That's an absolute rip.
I don't know, but I'm very happy with that. In an ideal world, he'd finish 4th in a Pertemps qualifier and not get moved and just goes to that race of 143.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very hard if he's going to rock up. Like, Musselburgh Pertemps qualifiers are going to be 7-8 runner races. Somebody strangling this horse into form would be one of the most... It would just be the most blatant thing of all time. Everyone will know, but
well, if he does that, he'll be 5-1 favourite for the race.
Well, exactly, but there's not actually, like, if he does do that, there's still not that much the handicapper can actually do. No. Like, his hands are tied now.
And I've got a list of all the horses that have qualified for the Pertemps. And
you're a sad man.
It's terrible. As in, it's not terrible, but there are a lot of horses right now. I know there are 6 qualifiers left that aren't rated very highly. No. That could easily get in it.
Yeah, no, very much.
As in, I think he might be off 143, but I could see him being towards the top.
Yeah, no, I could see that. No, the 2 mares from the Leopardstown race, I know it wouldn't be conventional for mares to maybe have a massive chance in the race, but Romeo Coolio, who won the Pertemps qualifier, 9 graces for Barry Connell, I think both of them will run in the William Fry at the DRF. Just be interested in those 2. They'd be 2 I'd be keeping on side, but this guy looks to have it all in his favour.
Yeah, 143, very happy with him. And the last one was Storm Heart, who will probably run in the Grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival.
That'll tell you all you need.
That will tell us. But he's 7-1. I think he may have even drifted to 15-2 since then. But I'm genuinely really happy with all 3 of them and hoping to kick on. What about you?
Well, I'm not so happy with all 3 of mine. I'm Buddy Rich at 33-1 for the Stayers.
Buddy Rich?
Or Buddy Rich. I wish it was Buddy Rich. Buddy 1. Who, unfortunately, will not be winning the Stayers. He probably won't even run on the race. Croke Park at 20-1 for the Bartlett. He was disappointing in the Lowlands and Naas, no getting away from it. The only positive I took from it is he certainly can't run over 2.5 miles. He can't even be a Martin Pipe horse based off that. So it's either Bartlett or bust for him at Cheltenham. Fingers crossed he runs in the race, gives us a spin. He's the type of horse that could run well still, I think. Slightly better run race, bigger stamina test. So I'm not completely giving up on him. But the ace in the pack definitely is Jade de Grugy. I've obviously taken on the 2 big mares in the market, Dry Sardinos and Brighter Days Ahead. The Solarina in a week and a half's time will tell us all we need to know. I suspect it will be Brighter Days Ahead versus Jade de Grugy. And after that, like, I put her up at 14. She's now already 8s. If she wins the Solarina, she'll be favourite.
Yeah, I know. I don't think she will. I think Brighter Days Ahead will do it.
Yeah, potentially so. And if she does, then I'll be back. No. But I think that's a feasible. Like, the 2 of them, you're going to go into a Solarina, and one of them's going to be even money, and the other's going to be 6-4, and it'll be probably 12-1 bar. I think she's a very good mare, and she'd be the one that I'm hoping at this stage, certainly of those 3, is carrying my biggest hopes.
There we go. I definitely think that Jade de Grugy is a very interesting punt at 14s. Now it's time for your 4th, and you've just explained that it may have gone up and down with the book so far. And you were actually the one who suggested today's video being an Ante Post video. You fancied something. Can you explain to the viewers who you fancy?
I'm just thinking of the viewers. This is why.
So your 4th bet of the 2024 Ante Post Cheltenham Festival is?
I'm a heart overhead man. Gavin Lynch told me to be the opposite.
Okay.
At the start of the year.
Yeah.
Has that worked?
I don't know, has it?
No, it hasn't.
Are we about to find out it hasn't?
It hasn't worked.
Okay.
No. And looking through the markets, I think it's actually very hard to find bets at the moment at big prices. I do look at the Brown advisory, and as I say, it is a bit of a heart overhead. I look at Stay Away Faye, 6-1.
I think that could be a bet.
It was very close to being a bet, I must say. I'm very, for the bet I'm about to put up, I'm very afraid of Stay Away Faye. I think he should be favourite. I can't understand why he's not. And 6-1 perhaps is a decent bet. But at 33-1, just on the knowledge that he will run, if Navan's on Saturday, he should run there. I'm going to put Xander Clegane in there.
Okay.
And there is reasoning and rationale.
What price is he?
33s.
Okay.
He's ran twice over fences. Disappointing in fourth in a beginner's point, imagine. That was over 2 miles. You can probably give him the benefit of the doubt there. He got beaten on seasonal reappearance as a hurdler as well. He was second in the Florida Pearl. Not probably at his best. Didn't jump brilliantly. Favre de Champ 2. Won the race. Flooring Porter was third. Since then, he's had a wind operation. They obviously weren't quite happy with him. They were a little bit disappointed after the Florida Pearl. The idea was that he was going to go straight on to the Grade 1 at Christmas time. They banned that, and I think that was a good idea to do that. He's going to run a beginner's chase. You look at his Cheltenham entries, just the Brown advisory. So it's either that or nothing. I look at the back end of his novice hurdle season, and it was 3 times better than the start of his novice hurdle season. He was beaten in a Galway maiden. He kind of won a Punchestown maiden hurdle okay. Then was okay in the Nathaniel Lacey. Then really improved to run third in the Bartlett, and then improved to win the auction final at Punchestown at the end of the season. I think there's grounds that he gets better as the season goes on.
Has he been as good of a chaser as he was on novice hurdler so far?
No, not so far.
Yeah.
But I think there's scope for that to happen. I look at the market, Grange Clare West favourite. He's due to be there given he's won a Grade 1 at Christmas time. I would like to take him on at Cheltenham.
I'd take him on at Cheltenham as well.
Factophile has a chance, fair enough. And Stay Away Faye has a chance, fair enough. I look at the rest of it and go, Corbett's Cross doesn't jump well enough for my money. Also a chance he runs in the National Hunt Chase. You've got the likes of Monty Starr in there that's half the price. He's still running in the Albert Bartlett behind Xander. I think Xander could be a better horse than him. I know he's maybe bred for fences, all of that, but still, he has to go and prove it at a big level. Nick Rocket's in there, could be National Hunt Chase bound. Embassy Gardens in there, same, and I'd be disappointed if Xander wasn't better. And he's just one of these horses, if he goes to his beginner's chase and wins like I feel he should do, everyone will go, oh, he's now the kind of live wire each way player for the race and will be down to 12 or 14 to 1, which based off his true ability, he probably should be in and around the 10 to 1, 12 to 1.
But can he win the race? I completely understand he could go off 12s, but realistically, even if he goes off 12s, can he win it?
I think there's every chance he can finish in the frame of an RSA, definitely.
Yeah, so is this an each way play?
It is a 33 to 1, yes, of course it is. But as I say, I just think there's unfinished business with the horse. He's clearly a very good horse. He showed last year he's a Grade 1 horse. I know he hasn't shown that over fences just yet, but I think at this price and at this time, because he could win his beginner's chase soon, and then you're on to half the price, I'm just going to put him in. It's heart over head. I'll admit it first. People will be in the watching this, banging their heads.
Again, he's in.
They'll be banging heads off brick walls. They'll be thinking I've done my dough again, and maybe I have, but I've got to live the dream. Imagine a world where Xander Clegane was to win the Brown Advisory.
I'm really going to have to imagine this one.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but he would be like King of Kingsfield popping up and winning the Supreme, and you not having him in the team.
He wouldn't be in the team, even if he wouldn't went and won the Supreme, because it must have been a horrific year.
Well, I understand.
King of Kingsfield.
Well, perhaps so, but you'd be having a long look at yourself at 1:45 on the Tuesday afternoon.
I think just him winning the race would be satisfying enough for me.
Oh, dear.
I wouldn't need
now you're talking absolute rubbish.
Can I move on to mine?
Oh, of course you can, yeah.
So my fourth... So looking at my book so far, I'm reasonably happy. And my fourth one was... I will admit, it was going to be Stay Away Faye at 6 to 1. My only reservation with him is he's going to run before, probably in the Cotswold Chase. I wouldn't hate him to go to Ascot in the Reynoldstown. That was a big fear of mine. And Paul Nicholls has mentioned those two as the next steps. If he was to go there, I wouldn't fancy him for Cheltenham because it's got a brutal race with
So another horse that Xander could beat then if he runs in the Reynoldstown?
Possibly,
We're just ticking them off.
And then the other one is in the Cotswolds where he's going to have to come up against open horses, and I fear something could go wrong. So I just thought 6 to 1 at the moment. I think if there was a 3 mile Grade 1 novice chase he could run in, or Grade 2 novice chase he could run in at the end of Jan, you'd be going, brilliant, he'll run there. Then you can go straight to Cheltenham. He'll be 2 to 1 favourite. Jobs are good and great. I just worry that going into open company might be swept off his feet a bit. Maybe. I don't know, and I just don't like the Ascot race. So for me, he nearly made the team, but he didn't quite. And then similar thinking to you, I think, with my other selection, and it's actually a 33-1 selection, so 2 33-1 selections for the Cheltenham Festival. Now let me talk you through this. I'm going to have to make a case because it's he has to improve for sure. Allaho is 11-4 favourite for the Ryanair. I don't think he's the same horse as old, and he's getting older, and I think he's actually put a lot of effort into the King George, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was to go downhill from there on out. Banbridge, as we spoke about earlier, 5-1. He needs good ground to have any chance, and 5-1 I don't think is a good price whatsoever. I would make him probably 8, maybe higher. I thought what he did at the weekend was good, but there's a chance he doesn't run, and if he runs in the race and it was, say, worse than good to soft, or even good to soft, many people would have doubts about ground.
Oh, I completely agree. You told me, though, earlier that it was actually the worst price you have ever seen.
Yeah, I wouldn't get stuck in it. I would, if he was 12s, I would back him.
Seen.
If he was 5s, I wouldn't back him at 12s.
No, I really don't fancy.
I just don't fancy him for the race. Stage Star's 7-1 third favourite. He ran no sort of race on his last start, and that would worry me. Envoi Allen's 9-1. I think he's quite solid.
Yep.
However, it doesn't. Can he win back-to-back Rhinos? Possibly could, but I don't think it'd be a great race. It doesn't look a great race, so there's an interesting one. John Bond's then in there. He's not going to run unless he gets absolutely pumped by El Fabiolo if they both race on Saturday. Appreciate It then at 14s, I think, is interesting. I would give him a squeak. Classic Getaways then next in at 25-1. Couldn't have him, won't run in the race. Fugitive 33s. He's won a handicap. Jungle Boogie's 33s. He's won a very, very weak race at Tremor. Protector at 33s won't run. Edwardstone 33s, I wouldn't fancy him. El Fabiolo's not going to run. Fast or Slow is going to go to the Gold Cup. Grenadine's out for the season. Pictor, he's not going to run. Sir Gerhard's going to the Stairs Hurdle. A Hoist and Yours not going to run. Capitano's 50-1. If you actually go through it, none of them are going to run. The only definite runners I could see are Allaho, Stage Star will run, Envoi Allen will run, I think Banbridge will run, and Appreciate It will run. And then you get to 33-1 Fildor. And I understand he has to improve. I 100% get that. But he's 6. Unlike all of these horses, Appreciate It is 10, Allaho is 10, 11? 11. Getting on. Banbridge is still relatively young. Envoi Allen is getting on. All those horses in there are all getting on, where their Fildor is 6. He's improving, and I think on the 2 starts this season, he's actually run really, really well. On his first start of the season, he finished a length and a half behind Dino Blue, who's went and won the Grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival over 2 miles. She's been a revelation this season. And then he went and finished 4 lengths behind El Fabiolo over 2 miles, and he was made to go and win his race, and he did, but it was still a very good run from Fildor in second. Now you could argue then that is he a 2-miler? I don't think he is. I think he is a stayer. At the 2 runs he has had over 2.5 miles, one was in a hustle bustle handicap when he was a novice in a plate at the Cheltenham Festival, I don't like that, and the other one was at the back end of last season. I'll give him excuses. I'm going to give him one more time, and I think there's a chance this weekend where he could bump into Envoi Allen, Allaho, Fakir Dudery, Appreciate It, French Dynamite in the Horse and Jockey Hotel Chase, the Grade 2 at Thurles on Sunday. He's actually got a squeak. Yep. And even without that, he's rated 155. He's gone up £5 from his last run. He's bumped into 2 really good horses, the 2 standout 2-milers this year so far. He's, well, other than John Bon, he's 6. I think he could be improving, and I know that Jack Kennedy will ride him if he gets to the race, which that is the plan. Gordon stated that, so we know that's a target. 33-1, I think, is a big price. And I'm not saying he's going to win this weekend, but if he was to run really well and fill the frame, I think you could then get excited about Cheltenham for him.
Oh, well, if you allow me, Xander, I'll allow you Fildor.
There we go. Fildor 33-1 for the Ryanair. I'm going to go on the nose because I'm not playing the each way play. I'm just going to go for it.
That's just cavalier carry on.
I'm going to go for it.
That's incredibly cavalier.
I've gone on the nose with all 3 of mine so far.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But Fildor's, yeah.
It could be
type of horse that's bound to finish second or third, but maybe not bound to win.
I'm hoping that he can win. It'd be some Thursday if Absolute Notions wins the Potemps and Phildor wins the Ryanair. A Thursday that you would not want to be anywhere near me because I'd be unsufferable.
Well, yeah, perhaps so, but it will be in the Gordon Elliott training 20 winners of at the festival yet again. So we'll all be having a good time.
Absolutely. We do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for your lovely comments last week, and we'll see you soon.